Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my podcast. I am your host, Kayden, and today I am back with another Hallmark review episode. Today I am joined by my lovely co-host, Jacob. If
Hello, hello.
Today we're going to be recapping and reviewing The Way Home episodes, or season 1 episodes 1, 2, and 3. Um, I guess we or um. I've been wanting to watch The Way Home for a while, but haven't exactly gotten into it because of my whole Hallmark boycott thing. Anyways, um, or I don't really know if I boycott Hallmark anymore. Anyways, I just ex wasn't exactly interested in watching it, and then um, over the New Year my grandma had said that she wanted my opinion on it. And so one of the days when I got back to school here, I decided to start watching it. And then I thought it would be a fun idea to do it with my boyfriend Jacob. So that's what we're doing. And we're going to be recapping and reviewing the episodes. So yeah. So basically, The Way Home, it aired last year. The first season aired last year, January 15th of 2023, and basically three generations of strong and independent women living together in a small farm town of Port Haven embark on the enlightening and surprising journey none of them could have imagined as they learn how to find their way back to each other. This TV series stars Sadie Laflamme-Snow. I'm not exactly sure if I said her name right. Andie Macdowell, Chyler Leigh, and Evan Williams. That's just to name a few of the actors in this production. Anyways, today we're going to be starting with recapping and reviewing episode 1, which is Mothers and Daughters. Kat and teen daughter Alice move in with estranged grandma Dell. Escaping the tension, Alice explores the farm and finds herself on a surprising journey. But before we get started on today's recap slash review, let's just do a little refresh and watch the preview of The Way Home.
Let's.
It's gonna work this time.
If you don't come back up, I'll know.
Who are you anyway? I just haven't seen you around. Alice.
Welcome, Alice.
You're damp. I just got caught in a sun shower. You guys used to love each other. What happened?
Time travel only works for you.
Why me?
I wish I knew.
The Way Home, only on Hallmark.
Okay, so we're back from that little preview moment. Okay. So if I can find this. So basically, this episode, the very first episode starts with a little cut from the year 1814, which is kind of interesting because you don't really know why that's in the beginning yet. Or I actually don't even think that I, I don't think you even understood what was happening in the beginning. Did you understand what was happening in the
No,
beginning?
no, I was so confused. It just seemed like it was like, I don't even know, like a future thing, and then they were gonna tell the backstory after.
I mean, it wasn't a future thing. That happened in 1814 in Port Haven, New Brunswick. That wasn't a
Yeah,
future
that's what I
thing.
meant, like a past thing, and they were gonna like give you backstory after. But like I felt like it was like just to like set up like speculation of like what is going on, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But basically, an unknown young woman is quote unquote terrified and running for her life. She's covered in dirt and out of breath, and she's being chased by these people with pitchforks and torches. Um, and then she's in this forest running or whatever, and then she comes to the little pond, and then she mumbles like a spell or something, and she jumps into the pond and then is like gone forever. So you think. So then it fast forward to the present day in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which we see 15-year-old Alice DeWan in her little talent show thing, she is upset that her mom isn't there and her dad's not paying attention, so she pulls the fire alarm because she kind of I mean, I guess it kind of seems like she has stage fright, but I don't really know if I would say that. But she's basically expelled from school, and then when they get home, she her mom, Kat Landry, and her dad kind of have a talk with her. Her dad leaves, her mom has a talk with her, basically tells her that she's done. I don't remember what she says. She doesn't really say anything, I don't think. Oh, she talks to her about the fire alarm, but then comes home to a house party, and then Kat is very frustrated, and she tells Kat that their family is a big mistake and runs upstairs, blah blah blah. And so then Kat finds a letter from her mom, Dell, from Port Haven, and the note ends with two words saying come home. And she calls her mom, and they end up going home. And so Alice is not very happy with this. She is very sad and angry and like calls her dad, and her dad tells her that she can't come home. Um Kat reassures her that this is the best place for them for now. It's a special place. Also, forgot to mention that Kat lost her job, so this is also why they're moving home. And Kat and her husband Brady, or his name is Braden. We'll go into that more, I guess, in later on, but they kind of like they were together, they're separated now.
Yeah.
But when they get there, I'm trying to find the big moments. When they get there, Dell offers Alice a um tour of the farm while her mom basically unpacks the car. And I feel like this is the first part where they actually mention the pond, is when the dog comes running back and he's all muddy, and Dell is like, "Oh yeah, there's a pond back there. He loves playing in it, blah blah blah." And so that's the first time they actually mention the pond. Um and then we see later that she finds it herself. Um, but at dinner, Alice and Kat um talk about their plans in Port Haven. Kat admits that she wants to write a book, while Alice wants to do school virtually. Dell tells her that's not a good idea and that she should go to school and meet people her own age. Alice reluctantly agrees and heads upstairs to her new room, which is her mom's childhood room, and her mom took Jacob's room. And there's a whole like there's a whole thing with um Jacob and her dad that slowly, I guess, unfold. We learn later that we learn next that her dad passed away in February 2000, because when Alice go runs upstairs, um she looks under the bed, I believe, and she sees the pamphlet flyer of the funeral program, I believe. Um, and then Kat thanks when they're cleaning up, Kat thanks her for taking the first step in like trying to mend the relationship by sending the letter, and Dell's like, "What are you talking about? I didn't send any letter." And then um Alice, this will then skip to the next day. We meet Elliot Augustine, which he was Kat's best friend when she was growing up, and Dell wants to know if he sent the letter to Kat or not. So far, we have zero clue who sent this letter to Kat,
Yeah.
because Dell says she doesn't do it. Elliot just said that he didn't do it. And then we later find out that her best friend Rita didn't do it either, or she's denying doing it as well. So who sent this letter is what I want to know. Jacob speculation is that Alice sent it, but that's a whole thing. Who
Yeah,
that's
that's just there's not really anything to do with it other than like nobody would know if she would have sent it just because of her like being able to time travel and stuff. That's my
yeah.
only thing that I'm going off of. So
Um Kat rushes over, and gives her, hugs her, oh, hugs him. Sorry, this is about Elliot. We find out that Elliot was divorced, now teaches science at the local high school, and Dell leaves them to get caught up or whatever. Apparently, Dell is hinting at the fact that she wants Kat and Elliot together. Um, and then Alice runs outside and urgently tells Kat that she cannot be late for school. There she meets Spencer and Zoe, which are working as volunteers on the Landry farm. And they vow to protect her from the other kids and rumors, which include her quote unquote setting fire to her old school, basically when she um pulled the fire alarm. Then at home, Kat receives a call from Brady who wants to know how they're doing. Unhappy Kat explains that she heard Alice's phone call and how she's disappointed that he would let Alice down, and says that he has not told Alice about Rachel moving in with him, which is his new girlfriend. And then Kat also shares that Dell has removed the history of her brother and dad from the house, and Brady encourages her to stay strong and that he still loves her and Alice. She decides to confront Dell on the erasure of the family memories in the house. The house basically looks like an Airbnb, and Kat says that to her. Kat says that to Dell, and it made me think. And okay, I thought, because there's a part in this episode where, it might be this episode or it might be the second episode, where they plan a funeral for Jacob. Nobody knows what happened to Jacob. They won't say what happened to Jacob. And then when Alice, they just there's just this eerie, just like thing about of Jacob's disappearance. Like he disappeared, and then that's all you know, and that nobody speaks of it. Nobody speaks of the dad. Nobody speaks of Jacob. It's like, but in science class, this part I didn't think would have been significant, but it makes so much more sense now. But so Elliot is Alice's science teacher, and so um Elliot tells Alice that anywhere, anytime, she can come to him for help. And so she kind of just nods it off. It's like, okay, whatever. But um she because of like bullying and stuff at school about her like pulling the fire alarm, she skips school, but also and then she's watching a video. She's very sad and angry about her parents' like divorce or separation. So she's mad at her mom or whatever. And so Alice just runs off into the woods. She finds the pond and she angrily throws her bracelet in. And then she kind of realized what she did, that she shouldn't have thrown it in. And then she tries to go into the pond, tries to like find it in the pond, and then she falls in. And then it kind of seems like she's drowning at first, but she's not. It's weird. The seaweed kind of like grasps her, and then she's like transported. She's like rescued by a 15-year-old girl who ends up being her mom, but in 1999. So that's crazy. That's the crazy part. Um and Alice is in shock that she recognizes her mom as a teen. On their way back to Kat's house, they run into a teenage Elliot as well as Kat's father. So while she's in the past, she's getting to experience the people that she is hearing about are not there anymore, like her granddad and Jacob, and also becoming her mom's best friend. And she tells her mom and Elliot and Dell and Colton, which is her grandfather, and Jacob, that she just moved from the States because New Brunswick's in Canada, obviously. So, they, yeah, so she acts as if she just moved here when in reality she just popped out of the pond from 2023. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else happens. Um, Kat gives Alice some dry clothes. They invite her to dinner. She interacts with Jacob, and then she notices that how much Dell has changed since Colton and Jacob passed away. And I honestly, I love Andie Macdowell. if you know who Andie MacDowell is, Andie MacDowell is from TV shows like Cedar Cove, and I can't exactly where else, but I don't know why I can't remember where else she's from, but she's like very famous. And Jacob doesn't know who she is.
I'm bad with names.
But Andie MacDowell is a pretty famous person. Anyways,
Yeah.
but the character's development that's just so cool that you see that you can definitely see you can definitely see the trauma that happened from her son's disappearance in 1999 and then her husband passing away. That must have been terrible. I don't even want to like imagine that. But at the end of this episode, Jacob is taking pictures of Kat and Alice. And then Kat ends up finding the photo, but the picture of Alice is like all like blurred, so you can't even tell that it's Alice. And that, but during this time, Kat and Dell and everybody are so worried about her being missing. And they don't exactly nobody knows where she is. Everybody's looking for her. Nobody knows where she is. She gets this is the part that this is the ending is so cool. This is what made me actually really like this show. We're only 3 episodes in. We're going to be going to the fourth, but this is what made me really like the show is in the ending where Elliot texts Kat and tells her to not worry about Alice and that she's going to come home. And then back in 1999, Alice is like has to go home or whatever, but she runs to the barn because she remembers that Elliot said that anytime, any place, you could help me. And so she goes up there and tells him, like, you told me once, anytime, any place, that you could come and save me, or you would help me. And then he doesn't know what he's confused, obviously, because this is 1999, and in present day, this is what he said. Um, she basically just tells him to take her word for it and help him or to help her. And so then it goes back in present day. Adult Elliot is not confused. He stands in the moonlight at the pond looking out in the water. Kat's call interrupts him. She questions him about his text message, and he reassures her again that he is positive that Alice will find her way home. That was the craziest part of the episode, in my opinion. Because then we learn that in the next episode that that he knew that Alice was in the past. Like he remembers, but obviously Kat doesn't, which is the freakiest thing ever that he just remembers. I don't know. Do you
Right.
have
And
any thoughts?
yeah, and he knew like exactly where to go, like to the pond and stuff, because like that's not even his land or anything. Like her own family hadn't even gone there. At least they didn't show that they went there, you know? And
Yeah.
like he went there. Like he knew where to go.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was crazy.
I I just think it's okay, so jumping into the next episode of season 2 is
Yeah.
called Scar Tissue. It's Kat is the description of the episode is Kat is presented with a book deal that asks her to dredge up terrible memories. Dell wants to say goodbye to the past while Alice yearns to return there. And so basically Alice is in a lot of trouble because she didn't come home. And so I don't know why this isn't working. Oh, I guess it's working. Um Anyways, basically everybody knows that Alice went missing. So, okay, great. Another rumor going around about her. But this is honestly this show has some comedy in it too because um Alice runs up to Elliot in school and is like, um, let's talk about last night. And then all of his colleagues around him are like the fact that I don't even want to know what they were thinking. Like,
Right. Like he's over here talking to like other teachers or something, and then she just walks up and says it. It's just that looks so bad.
Yeah. But basically, she apologizes to him and discover they both know. She's like, um, because he's kind of like, what about last night? Or never do that again. And she's like, I don't exactly remember what she says, but she says something about like, um, do you know, like, do you know that I know? And then he's like, you like, what do I know that you know? Or something like that.
Yeah, he's
And
like,
then,
well, what do you know?
yeah, yeah. And, um, so they both know her time traveling secret, and then Alice is wondering why her mom doesn't recognize her in present day if she knew her as a teenager, which is the craziest thing, is that Elliot remembers this. And Elliot tells her, okay, so this part is what I get, which I guess makes sense. Elliot tells her that that her memories are mercurial. I don't know. Mercurial. I don't know how to say that word.
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it really quick. Mercurial. Subject to sudden or unpredictable changes of mood or mind, or for containing element mercury. What?
Look up like Mercial Memory and see if something comes up.
Okay. It involves those things that are learned so thoroughly and recalled so often that little mental effort goes into summoning them. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, that Alice wasn't, which is what you said last night, that Alice wasn't like, she wasn't a big part of her life. So, and she's had more time with her daughter. So obviously she's gonna remember her daughter as her daughter and not remember Alice, which she does say later in this episode that Alice is more of an energy and less of as a person now because she doesn't really remember her. Um, but a bunch of stuff. I feel like this episode's not that like big and like a lot of things happening. I feel like this is one of the drier episodes, I guess. In some ways, I feel like the first one is definitely big. This third one is huge
Yeah, yeah.
because, well, in the second one, or the first one, second one, whatever, Elliot tells her that she's the only one that can time travel. And we'll get into that in the third episode when we talk about that in a second. But a lot of things do happen in this episode. Rita is Dell's missing, not missing, is like Dell's best friend. Um, and Rita is in disbelief that Alice went missing. She questions Dell if Alice had any idea what this would do to her, knowing she experienced something similar in the past with Jacob. And Dell cuts her short and tells her it's over. Alice is back. It's time to move on. Rita cannot. She doesn't think Dell should be so naive to think her life won't experience this challenge now that Alice and Kat are staying with her, and Dell has done way too much healing work for her past to have them to ruin it. And Dell shares that someone sent Kat her letter, and that's why they're here. And Rita assures her that it was not her, but Dell is still suspicious. Um, Kat revisits the Polaroid on her nightstand of teen Kat and Alice, and um, and then Brady calls her telling her, and then she calls Brady to tell him that maybe they shouldn't have come there. And then Brady tells her that she has a book deal for her about her family tragedy with her dad and Jacob, but she says no. But Brady asks her to think it over. Um, and then Alice, okay, so then you jump to what we just talked about Elliot and Alice at school when she runs up to him. They talk about it. And then Elliot tells her that she needs to be wise about when she travels as to not be gone for too long in present day as her family will start to worry because he says that you've obviously learned that time is the same here and there. So as long as you have to be gone when no one notices you, I guess. And Alice tells Elliot that she met Jacob and she can see how special he was. And he says, yes, he was. Um, Inside Jacob's room, Kat rummages through her brother's things. Dell interrupts her and tells Kat to put those memories away. Yeah. Dell says that Landry women have to continue, like, have to keep busy. So Monica, Dell sends Monica, uh, Dell sends Kat to the Point Cafe, to see her old friend Monica. And she's basically on a job interview, but um, Kat doesn't know that, but her mom set it up for her. Kat was Monica's nemesis in high school, and we see that in episode 3, kind of. But yeah, that's basically most of that for this episode. She tries to go back to 1999, Alice does, but she jumps in the pond and then can't go. So that's kind of an issue. Um, she doesn't know why she can't go. Um, and then she begins to cry because, well, she was dealing with some stuff in her life. She wanted to escape it, and then she wonders why she can't go back. And then she goes back home. She meets Dell, who's surprised to see that she's awake early. She hands her a box of produce, and they go to like the neighborhood um farmers market where we meet Brian Goff, which is he's into Dell,
Yeah,
and Dell
definitely.
and Dell is into him. Um and Alice, I don't know if it's this episode. Is it this episode where she realizes the way she's acting is the same as how she was acting with her husband, like she likes him? Do you remember it's the flashback where
Yeah,
she kind
yeah,
of
that's where like her hair or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So basically in the past, Alice is watching her family like together, like how her grandma and her mom and her granddad and Jacob all acted together. And so she is noticing how much happier and Dell is around town, much like her younger self. However, she's not this happy with her own family, and that has to do with a lot of things. In this time there, Alice is still very interested to figure out what happened to Jacob. Like she wants to know like what happened to Jacob. Kat is very mad that Dell took Alice to the farmer's market because she's technically grounded. Um, a- she, oh wow.
Oh wow.
Um, Kat heads. So when Kat gets to the farmer's market, she has a flashback of her teenage self with her father Colton standing in the same market. They're handing out flyers in search of her younger brother Jacob, who went missing. And then Alice asks Rita if she could tell her what happened to Jacob, and she refused to tell her that she shouldn't dig up the past. And then Kat goes to her father's grave. She meets Danny, a cemetery worker who we see in episode 3 was Danny. He's Danny. He's um Jacob's childhood best friend. Um and she wants to say hello, but he's hesitant to say it back. And we learn later in this episode that Dell basically blames the reason Dell and Kat have such a terrible relationship now is that deep down um Dell believes that Kat is the reason Jacob is missing. And so on this tombstone underneath her dad's death or her dad's name engraved in his tombstone on the very bottom it says Jacob Landry 1980 something to 1999 or 1990 something to 1999. And so even though Kat believes Landry shouldn't give up, Dell has given up. So she's kind of like sad by this, but the fact that technically maybe Jacob isn't dead. Um But at the Herald, so she finds out that Byron is um he's in charge of the newspaper and the archives. And so she finds out this, and then she goes there and searches up information on local boy, basically trying to find information on Jacob, like what happened to him. She sees
Yeah.
headlines, local boy goes missing, police have no leads. She sees pictures of his bike with police tape surrounding it. She tries putting the pieces together only to be interrupted by Dell, who tells her it's time to go. And then they drive back, and right outside the farm, Alice apologizes and tells her that she just needed to know. They pull over by a white cross close to the farm, and Dell points out that this was the last place her husband died only 3 months after Jacob went missing. Dell tells her she lost her whole world in 3 months, and Dell tells her she deserves to know what happened, but to never speak of it again once she finally knows. Um, and then Alice is basically like, "Okay, but you didn't lose mom." And then Dell's like, "Yeah." Like like it's
Yeah,
like that.
like she doesn't even care.
Yeah. And then when they get home, Kat is at the kitchen table when Alice and Dell walk in. She wants to know why Dell decided to declare Jacob dead. Dell tells Kat it was time after she got his death certificate. Dell wrote Kat the letter but never mailed it. Dell tells Kat that there's an upcoming memorial scheduled for Jacob, planned before she arrived. Inside the laundry barn, Kat takes a moment to herself. Elliot interrupts, and they kind of like talk about like she asks what if he remembers Alice. Um
Yeah, and going off of like the way that she was like, "Why are you declaring Jacob dead?" I feel
yeah.
like that's when we started speculating, like maybe at some point he ends up falling in the pond and just never finds his way back. Like
Yes.
something like that.
So in episode and so okay, so basically it ends. I feel like this episode, the ending, I don't know. It just because of how the first episode ended, I feel like this episode was kind of like very lack thereof, I guess. But basically it ends with um I does it end with her going back to 1999? Oh, yeah,
Not,
yeah, 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 yeah. Alice stands at the pond's end, ready to jump, but Elliot catches her. She wants to see Jacob and hopes the pond will accept her this time. She waits as she jumps. To his delight, she doesn't resurface. So basically, in 1999, before she leaves, she says that if she doesn't come back up, she either drowned or she went back. And so he tries jumping in to see if she's there, but she's gone. And so Elliot then like basically the same as he did in 1909 says if you don't come up, like I know that you're there. So that's what happens. And then um now that memorials happen, it's time to put Jacob's name in the family heirloom. We learn that there's this book that they write down every Landry first and last name and then their death day they're when they pass away, basically to like retire the name. Or it's just like a family heirloom. It keeps going. But Dell can't bring herself to do it, and Kat does it for her. And then in 1999, Alice meets Jacob and teen Kat just in time to join them for a family dinner. Yeah. N-
yeah.
yeah. Season episode 3 though is the biggest one because so basically going back to what Elliot says. Basically, season 3 is probably the most momentous episode of them all besides the first one so far, in my opinion, because are told, we're told in the second episode that Elliot says that she is the only person that can, um, what just happened?
They're fine.
Oh, okay. Elliot says that she as in Alice is the only person that can time travel. Well, throughout this episode, Kat comes home and so not Kat. Alice comes home and she has to make it look like she went to her friend's party. What happens in this episode? I barely even remember. A
We just
lot of
watched it today,
stuff.
baby.
I know a lot of stuff happens in this episode. Dell Dell's friend Rita I mean, I guess she's a true friend. She's trying to help Dell move on after 20 years of this grief that she's in. But basically these two people show up and they're trying to buy her husband's boat. and she doesn't want to sell the boat, but she thinks that she should because it's gonna help her. It's gonna help her like her progress in grief and like moving on and stuff like that. So she kind of decides that she'll sell it. And then in 1999, she Alice meets back up with her friends aka Kat and Elliot in 1999, which that is so weird to me. She's friends with her mom and Elliot when they were young.
Yeah, that
It's,
is weird.
it is weird. Um, But because this episode has to do with the boat, because as she's approaching the house in 1999, it's talking about the boat. She sees her granddad with the boat. She finds out that um that Teen Cat's favorite book, Alice in Wonderland. She shares some of her favorite quotes from it. Elliot interrupts them to introduce a brand new way to communicate with the world, the internet. And he says, and because Elliot is the only person that knows she's a time traveler, Elliot keeps like leaves her a bag of clothes because she's gonna every time she's gonna get out of the pond, she's gonna be soaking wet. So Elliot leaves her clothes. And so um, Ellie's the only person that knows about time travel. And so basically when they're talking about, oh my God, this computer, it's the internet, blah, 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 he's like, oh, you have, like, is this like the internet you have? Or like, you kind of have this where you come from, blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, it's kind of like, do you, like, I don't know how to explain that. How would you explain that, babe?
Like,
Like,
I think he wasn't thinking before he said something, you know.
mm-hmm.
But I feel like Alice did a pretty good job of covering it out at the time, you know.
Yeah. She basically said that she was from the States, and apparently Canada's pretty slow at the internet
Yeah,
is what they kind of came up with. Um,
but like up
but
until that point, I didn't even realize that they weren't in the States until she said it like that, and I was like, oh,
oh,
okay.
well, yeah, I kind of forgot that they were in the States, but I kind of knew that it was Canada. Anyways, yeah, a lot of Hallmark TV shows take place in Canada. It's because Hallmark, I don't know, because they're filming in Canada, so a lot of it, even though it might take place in the US, they could be actually filming it in Canada. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, okay, so basically in this episode, we see a lot more of of Kat's dad, so Alice's granddad. We meet Danny, as in Jacob's best friend since birth, which I wonder, like, he was very hesitant to talk to Kat when they were at the cemetery, so that's still like, I'm still wondering why, and I wonder if we'll learn more. We are definitely gonna learn more because it has to do with Jacob. And then, in this episode, Kat gets a job at the paper, and yes, babe, you don't have to raise your hand, you can just talk.
It just seems like everything's like it seems like people are like mad at Kat and they haven't really explained it yet, you know? Like he seemed
Yeah,
like he was not talking to Kat for a reason, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Especially being like the childhood best friend of her brother, like you would think that he would show some like remorse, like, oh, how are you doing? Like I haven't seen you in a long time
Yeah,
or something. But
exactly.
he was like she had to like say something a couple times for him to even like give any feedback to
Yeah,
her.
exactly.
And then Kat's mom. So
Which makes me definitely think that because so I think it's in this episode two is where it might be episode two or in this episode two as well that we find out that um that Kat was with Jacob the day he disappeared. They were on a bike ride or something like that. They were on their bikes. She turned around for 1 second and then she turned back and he was gone.
yeah.
Which is We learned that in episode two, I think, actually, when they're doing the funeral or whatever.
So she says. We
Yeah,
don't
so
know if
she
that's actually what
says.
happened.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so um yeah, she gets this job at the Herald. Then when Alice comes back to the 2023 era, she comes back in the house and she's like damp and everyone's like, "Oh, why are you damp?" And she's like, "Oh, I got caught in a sun shower," because she's supposed to be hanging out with Spencer and Zoe, but she obviously wasn't. And then Dell asks for her help for them help to clean off the boat because she's gonna sell it. And Alice is really upset that Dell is selling the boat since she just witnessed the family 2 decades ago cherishing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um Kat's first piece on at the paper is about a cucumber. She's not very happy about that. Um I feel like she feels like she's much better than what she's been given by Byron. Especially in the moment where when she's like, I've been writing for so many, like when he's in this episode, he tells her that like he her work was like not good. And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, right. Yep, you had those awards, right?" Like
Right.
I was just like, wow.
Like they didn't mean anything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a
Um,
lot of like I wouldn't even say random, but like smaller things happening during that episode that
y-
I feel like are gonna play a big role eventually.
mhm.
Like with Alice's first kiss, like we haven't even
Oh
been
yeah.
introduced to that guy yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
I want to
what
know
was he?
who he is in now. Like I want to know who he is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and then the whole thing like they were had to run from the cops. That could have been so bad. That was crazy.
That yeah, exactly. The fact that yeah, she was arrested in 1999, that would have been so bad. Um,
Yeah,
but basically Spencer invites Alice to her birthday party, but she's like, "Oh, I gotta do something first." So she goes to 1999, and then she hangs out with Kat and Elliot, and they go to this beach party at the Cove, and then she meets this dude. Do we know his name? I don't think we know his name, but she meets this.
they introduced him like once, but that was I think that was the only time they ever said his name.
Yeah. Oh my God, I forgot the biggest part. So even though, okay, so Elliot tells her that it's the same time. Present day is going to be the same as it was in the past. But when she goes this next time, which is literally the next day to 1999 in the past or whatever, she jumps time. It's 2 months ahead than she was back then. And so she has to somehow explain to Kat why she hasn't been around for 2 months. Which I thought that was crazy. That where she ran into the barn and was like, "Elliot, how long has it been since I was last here?" She's like, he's like 2 months. Oh, his name is Nick.
Okay,
Um, and then one of the big parts in this episode too is that Dell and Rita argue. Um, Rita stops by and meets to like give her dinner. And then Dell finds out that Rita was the one that told the locals about the boat for sale. She believed it was time for Dell to sell it and move on, and Dell was really upset because she thinks that Rita thinks she can tell her what to do with her memories. Rita is shocked that Dell's anger is the thanks she's getting for letting Dell cry on her shoulder all those years. And Byron tries to mediate before Rita walks out. And then so before Kat and modern day Kat and Monica. Baby, what are you looking at?
Snuff off.
Oh, okay. Um, is it cool? Like what
Kind of,
kind of what is it doing?
kind of. It's plowing the snow.
Interesting.
It's like a
Okay,
truck with a
so
plow.
when we're recording this, we're in a snowstorm currently. And so apparently outside Jacob's window is a snowplow.
There's been two of them going back and forth. One of them's on like those like ATV looking thing. Not even ATV. I don't even know. It's not a golf cart. It's something. But it ain't like uh, an actual automobile.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know how to
Yeah,
explain it, but
they don't know what I'm talking about, but you know what I'm talking about.
mhm. I've seen it.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna run me over.
Oh my
Um
gosh, you're quick. It wouldn't get you.
okay, so back at the local cafe, um Monica and Kat bond over drinks. They discuss their kids, their teenage years. This guy named Andy walks up, leaves. Eyes him with interest. When he leaves, Monica encourages Kat to start dating again. Also, they talk about how Kat is going to be going to Spencer's birthday, which we find out later she never ends up going to because she's having a blast at this beach party. She stays, she's having a fun conversation with Nick. She gets her first kiss, like Jacob just talked about. Um, he's supposed to be like this artist, like this singer type of dude, but he's not really good at playing guitar. And so Kat tells Alice to do it. She sings Britney Spears. And then her watch goes off, telling her it's time to go, but she ends up staying. The the um the police arrive to shut down the party. Alice separates from the group and hides with Nick. They share their first kiss, like I just said, and then teen Elliot interrupts and reminds Alice that she needs to leave now. But she decides against it and stays and has a sleepover with Kat. Um, at the sleepover, so basically she was gone for 2 months. So Kat went to this camp where Kat met Brady, her ex-husband. And so at a sleepover, they trade secrets, and Kat tells her about her love interest, Brady, Alice's future father. And when Alice tells her that she can time travel because they're talking about, like, have you ever lied to your parents? Kat laughs it off. Which I thought that the fact that she told her, oh my God, that was crazy.
Yeah, I did not. It seemed like she seemed real hesitant, so I figured that she wasn't gonna say it.
Yeah, exactly. And then she
But
ended
yeah,
up doing it. That was crazy. Um, and then back in present day, she's back at the farm. She receives text messages from Spencer asking if she's coming to the party. She tells him she got sick, and Kat walks in and asks her how the party was. She lies, tells her it was great, and Kat apologizes to her for being out of it lately and tells Alice she's doing great in Port Haven and basically tells her that she has her freedom back, she has her trust, whatever.
right.
Um, outside, Kat goes to Dell and tells her that like she doesn't need to sell the boat if she doesn't want to sell the boat. Like she doesn't need to sell everything to heal. And so Dell doesn't sell the boat, but she does say that Alice must help clean it to keep it. And then so she exchanges numbers back in modern time. Kat exchanges numbers with Andie. Spencer comes in and reveals Alice never came to the party. Kat becomes suspicious. This is the biggest part of this episode. This is the biggest part of this episode because we're told that what?
What was that pause?
I was looking at you and trying to see what you're doing. For
Anyway,
everyone, because nobody can see, he was just looking back at his door for some reason, and I was like, what are you doing?
sound like my door is shaking. I was thinking what's
Oh,
happening.
probably people upstairs again.
Probably.
Anyways, so she tells Alice tells her mom and Dell that she's gonna go see a movie with Spencer and Zoe, and which she's not actually gonna do. She's gonna go back to 1999, and so Alice heads to the pond, and Kat is like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna head out too." But Kat actually follows her, and Kat watches Alice jump into the pond. And then she freaks out. She's like, Alice, 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 like screaming for her, just like Elliot did. And um, Kat jumps in and she never floats back up. So obviously, we know that she went to 1999 or wherever she's going. She went into the portal, which we were told by Elliot that only Alice can time travel. So that means that this never happened. Or Elliot just wasn't aware because Elliot didn't know. You know what I mean? That which is what I'm confused about because if Kat can't remember Alice, why can't Elliot? And if this did happen and Kat ended up going for like that's what I want to know. That because this must have been the first time that Kat went there.
Well, here's the thing. Here's my whole thing about it is
Okay.
that Elliot before had also said that time works the same way. And then when Alice had come to Elliot and was like, "Oh, you lied to me. It doesn't work the same way." His response was that, "Well, I can't tell you your future or whatever." Like something along those lines, like that would freak
Yeah.
you out, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe that's another thing that he kept from her. That way she wouldn't like go out and tell Kat immediately like about
Yeah.
all this stuff because I don't know, maybe it would mess with some sort of timeline or
Yeah.
something.
Also in this episode, because in the first episode, it was the first or second episode, um, basically Alice told Elliot that, or Elliot asked Alice who he ends up with, and Alice is like, ew, that like basically like, no, you didn't end up with my mom. Ew, that's gross. You're just my science teacher. And so he made a comment about her about like telling him about about his future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember when, but yeah, I
And
don't
then
remember that comment,
and
but
then
she was
she
like,
like
yeah, I won't.
apologized.
Yeah, she's like, I'm sorry, I won't do it ever again. Was that in the past that she did that, or in the future, like in modern time? Do you
She
remember?
Well, when she told him that he
That
was a
was the
science teacher, that was
past.
in the past, but it was in the future when he was saying like like basically it scares people to know that like what their future is, and that was in the future when she apologized and said
Oh, okay,
like
okay.
I'm sorry for whatever I told you because she doesn't know. All she knows is
Yeah,
maybe the whole science teacher thing and not ending up with Kat was the whole thing, but we don't know.
yeah. I wonder. I don't know. Who knows? I still think no. What? Okay, so I never talked about this. Okay, so I I the biggest thing is that was why would they put that clip of the girl, the witch, whatever? Because in this episode, it's either this episode or the episode before, Jacob tells Alice to not go in the woods at night because there's a witch that runs through there. In 1814, there's this girl. She looks like she could be a witch because she's in like a white nightgown. Basically, could seem like a witch from what witches are represented as back then. Anyways, just from that just made me like click that together. And then she jumps into the pond. And what also makes me think she was a witch, which comes back to what Jacob said was that he that when before she jumped in the pond, she said a spell. So I wonder if she was the one that opened this portal.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna
But
have to go back and rewatch that very beginning just so I can like see if I look at it any differently now. You know,
I definitely think that it's her though because she has the same curly hair. That it's just weird.
we gotta dissect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree though. I think it's her.
I think it's her. I don't think she just obviously she doesn't know because she was reincarnated. So,
Mm, yeah,
yeah.
she would not know.
No. It's just that that the whole thing is just weird. It's just so weird how that worked because Alice is named after Kat's friend Alice. Like that that's so weird. Like the whole
Well,
backwards,
do
it's
we
like
know
confuses the mind. What, that she was named after her?
that? Yeah, because
Yeah,
remember
it
her.
tells. She
Okay, I was
tells
like,
Elliot. She says in the second episode, she says that she's like, and I'm Kat's friend. I'm named after Kat's friend, who I am. Like something like that. And I am my mom's friend Alice.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I just didn't know just because I know Kat in the past, she talked about how Alice in Wonderland was her favorite book. So I don't know if that was the reason she picked Alice, or if it was a
yeah,
combination, or what.
yeah, exactly. The
Because
Alice
it
in
seems
Wonderland, it seems like it's like a whole like like whatever Easter egg as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Because
I
it
like
just seems weird. Go ahead.
no, you go, baby.
It just seems weird that like you wouldn't recognize what someone looked like if you named them
Yeah.
after them. But like if it was a combination of like, oh, that used to be a friend of mine and I really love this book,
Yeah.
then that makes sense.
Yeah. She also does say in the second episode when she's like talking to Elliot in the barn, she says that she can't remember she doesn't remember what Alice looks like anymore and that the pictures are blurry, so it doesn't help and she feels more like an energy than a person.
Yeah, yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just it's so weird. But so far, I really like the TV show. I think it's so good. I didn't think I was gonna like it this much. Like I am really interested in to see what's gonna happen. Um, I had told my grandmother about us watching it. And so because basically she said that she wanted my opinion of it when I started watching it, and she said that she had to watch them twice because she was still confused. And she says that she said that she didn't understand why she couldn't remember her, even though that her daughter, like, how could she not know that her daughter looks exactly like her friend? Which, yeah, that whole thing is just, that whole thing's weird. We just talked about that. And then she said that she thought it was her mother who jumped in, but now she's not sure. So I don't know what she's talking about there. And then she says, but by the last episode, you'll figure out what happened to Jacob. At least I think I have. Which makes him, because I know for sure I've seen all the trailers for like I've seen previews of all the episodes. I don't remember like what could possibly happen, but I just know that the second season is all about Jacob and what happened to Jacob. So I'm
Yeah,
really interested to see what's gonna happen for the rest of the season. I'm excited.
me too.
Okay. Anything else, baby?
I think that's about it. I think it makes sense to me why Elliot remembers because Elliot like didn't watch her grow up like her mom did.
Yeah.
So like, like if you saw someone like and that's the only way that you've known how they've looked,
Yeah.
then if you see someone again, I feel like you'll instantly like remember that.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I know who that is. Like and maybe you don't know at first, but like you'll like think of it. But like her mom, like they said, if you watch someone grow up, then it probably gets fuzzy.
Yeah. Also the fact that like she literally birthed her. So like you physically saw them morph into who they are, which is what you're saying. So like obviously like that it would be weird if she was like one day she's like, "Oh my God, you look just like my best friend from 1999."
Right, yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
The
But she
but
jumped into
like
the pond, so we'll see if Cat puts two and two together. Because it's
yeah,
definitely gonna change something.
but Kat's mom, that one's kind of confusing because like I know that she hadn't been back home in like 20 years or something like
Alice's
that.
mom, Cat?
No, no,
Alice's
Kat's
mom?
mom.
Cat's
Kat's
mom? What do
mom.
you mean Cat's mom? Alice is the girl, Cat is Cat, and Dell is Cat's mom.
Yeah, I'm talking about Dell.
Dell has been
Kat's mom.
home. Dell's been there for all lifetime.
No, I know, but Kat
Okay.
hasn't been back. Like
Oh, okay.
I didn't know if, since Kat has been back in like 20 years. Like I don't know if like maybe that's why Dell doesn't recognize um Alice.
Oh
Like
yeah. Oh
maybe
yeah,
because
yeah,
like
yeah, because Dell would know too. Yeah, I totally
because
didn't
like
think about that.
you would think like if she really I don't know if I don't know the whole thing, but like let's say she hadn't seen her for 20 years, you would think that like a person like Dell would recognize a familiar face like that if she was coming there for
Yeah.
dinner.
I wonder if that's because okay, so you know how so in the first episode, you know how when they get there, she's like, "Oh, I'll give you a tour of the farm." And she mentions the pond.
Yeah,
Like, I wonder if she knows.
I wonder because
Because
like
then she also saw her run back that morning.
yeah, and didn't say anything, which
She
is
didn't
kind of
say
weird.
anything.
But also, she also didn't seem very concerned about Alex coming back. I mean, she like
She
did, but
kind of
like,
did, but she's gonna come home.
yeah, that was her whole thing. And then everyone was kind of like painting her out to be like how could you not care? Like you just don't seem like you just don't care anymore. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like maybe she does now.
I think she does. I wonder if she does.
See, I have my
Because I
thinking
don't,
hat on.
yeah. Because she immediately, I mean, Kat and Dell's relationship isn't the best anyways, but like, I wonder if, like, because she went immediately up to Alice, Dell did.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, she never said anything about her running through the woods at like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, whatever time it's supposed to be.
right. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I was thinking about that when we were watching it.
Yeah. Well,
Who knows? Gotta keep watching.
yep. Okay, so
It will
that's
be
gonna
on
be.
at 7/8 Central or 7 o'clock Eastern.
No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay,
It's on
so
Hallmark.
if you anyone's interested in watching The Way Home, you can catch it on Hallmark Reviews Now if you have that, which is the streaming service for Hallmark. And then season two premiere of The Way Home is premiering January 22nd at probably 8 p.m. 7 Central on Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, I'm assuming. Or it's gonna be Hallmark Channel. I don't know which one it is, but
And guess what? It's only $5 a month.
it's 5.99. So like actually is it? No, it's
Five,
5.99. It's only $6 a
five,
month.
only $6 a month. Okay,
Yeah.
that's not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. So
Yeah. I don't know when this episode's gonna come out. My goal is to have all these episodes that we do, every episode we watch, babe. My whole goal is to have every episode so I can like boom, 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 boom. So this episode might come out like after the premiere of the second season, or who knows. But yeah.
yeah, line it up pretty good. Because
Hmm.
how many episodes are in the first season?
10. Yep.
You got a text?
From my mom. Okay. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope you all enjoy watching. Thank you all for listening to today's episode. I don't think I'm gonna put the video for this. I've never done video. Maybe I'll do it this time. Here's
Bye.
I haven't finished my outro. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you all soon. Bye everybody.
Bye.
Sometimes I feel like I done lost it, and I don't even really know the cost yet. But every time fear is on my mind, you remind my soul that I'm free. I know I can't go on my own. You came so I wouldn't have to go it alone. You took the long road so you could show me home. Found love better than I've ever known. So now I know that I can say you are exalted above everything on the earth that I've seen. Cause I know that my dreams come alive in the love that you promised to me. I'll keep singing your praise and you know I believe. Even when I'm down in the darkness, you call my name out loud. Used to think I had to do it on my own, but I'm never alone now. Even when I'm down in the darkness, you call my name out loud. Used to think I had to do it on my own, but I'm never alone now.